Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our family service for today. Nice to have all of you joining us here and there, and hopefully you have your home altar, home obutsudan adorned, and you have maybe flowers, maybe fruits, obukpan rice or bagel or something up on the altar, and you have printed out all the materials that we will use for today. And I would like to welcome our guests today. We have little ones here playing. Tsuki from the sloth family is here, and Snowbear is still here from the giraffe family. A good friend of the giraffe family. He decided to stay with the giraffe family. He usually has his giraffe outfit on, and he's the imposter bear. But today he's Snowbear, playing with his good friend Tsuki. And Tsuki's here a little bit early because his family wants to be here for the Shotsuki service that will be next week. So both of them are too young to wear masks, but they have their onenju and they're ready for service, and they wanted to practice donating to the temple and sliding in their donation into the box there, but they kind of slid themselves into the box. So they're kind of playing around at the same time, being real thoughtful of the temple. Still, they're kind of wanting to have fun too. So they're pretending like they are money and sliding into the box themselves. So offering themselves to the temple, just like we all do. So today for our service, we're going to have the reading of the three treasures and then the Rai Son Mon. Then I'll go up to my seat for the chanting of the Sanbujo Ju Sei Gei, silent meditation with the sound of the gong. Then I'll come back for my Dharma message for today. Okay? So please join me in the reading of the three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when will it be realized? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we absorb ourselves in the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we live in harmony in the great assembly as disciples of Buddha and be freed from all hindrances, becoming units of true accord in the life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Rai Son Mon. Ninjin ukegatashi imasure ni uku. Buppo kikigatashi imasure ni kiku. Konomi konjo ni mukatte dosezumba. Sarani izure no sho ni mukatte kakonomi o dosen. Daishu moro tomo ni shishin ni sambo ni kieshi tatematsuru beshi. Mizu kara butsu ni kieshi tatematsuru. Masani negawaku wa shujo to tomo ni. Daido taige shite mujoi o okosan. Mizu kara ho ni kieshi tatematsuru. Masani negawaku wa shujo to tomo ni. Fukaku kyouzo ni irite chie umi no gotoku naran. Mizu kara so ni kieshi tatematsuru. まさに願わくば主情とともに大衆を通りして一切無下ならん。無常人人未明の方は百千万号にも愛をことかたし、我今検問し従事することを得たり、願わくば如来の真実義を消し立て祭らん。ナモアミダ仏、ナモアミダ仏、ナモアミダ仏、ナマンダ、ナマンダ、ナマンダ、ナマンダ。Sanbujo Ju Sei Gei. Namanda, 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 namanda. Ni 福人少年長英主本業四愚無浄土一生天人師人力現代公不生無才道少女三苦名交際集約難回避知恵言滅死根門永息小六道通覧全宗門高僧上満足異様老実法日願修十期天候不言一周解放像公正六法超大集中説法四四苦供養一切物具足修徳本願念心上満徳一三概要両分無下知自然未不詳願学営力投資最小損志願薬効果大聖の感動国書天人統一妙見ナマダブナマダブナマダブナマダブナマダブナマダブ観にしくろく両道生祭東本も大心往生ナマンダナマンダナマンダナマンダナマンダナマンダナマンダナマンダナマンダナマンダ Silent meditation. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Midabutsu, Namanda, 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 Namanda. Namanda, 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 Namanda. Good morning once again, everyone. Nice to have everyone here for our family service today. So I wanted to conclude a talk, I think it was 3 weeks ago. I talked about the lady in Japan during World War II. She was a very devout Christian upbringing and went to Japan to live with her in-laws in the countryside of Japan. At first they were in Tokyo, and then the husband thought it would be safer. They would be safer if she were not in a major city, and so she moved in with her in-laws in the countryside of Japan. So her name was Toshiko Kawamura. And so at that time, 3 weeks ago, I was telling the story about when she went to live with this family, and she thought it was an opportunity for her to share her Christian beliefs with them. And they had this opportunity to spend months and months together. And when she went there, they welcomed her so warmly that she was really touched, but at the same time she thought she deserved to have that kind of welcome. And she was from the bigger city, a little more worldly, she felt, and had college education, whereas the people there were living on the farms and not that much education there, just working very hard. And she had thought they would be preconceived notion that farmers would be small talk and gossiping about each other's families and things like this. And they were very devout Jodo Shinshu Buddhists and went to the neighboring temples to listen to Dharma talks whenever they could. And their thoughts were the first thing, the main thing is to listen to the Dharma, and work is something that was extra, secondary to listening to the Dharma. And so they would all live like this. And so when there was a talk, they would go there with their neighbors and their co-workers and be able to listen to the different senseis talking about the Dharma. And then on their way home, they would walk home and happily talk about what they heard and points that the sensei had made. And so this would be how they would live their lives. And so Toshiko wanted to share with them the Christian beliefs, which she thought was a higher form of religion. And she had come with the notion that Buddhism was this idol-worshipping, primitive religion that the Japanese had come to learn about. And so she talked to them repeatedly every night, every evening, for maybe a couple hours, and they would listen intently, but never did they waver in their own faith. They were always humble, hardworking, and not a bad word to say about others and things like this. And their consistency was something that intrigued her. And finally she asked them if she could go to along with them on one of their visits to the local temple. And at that time that I shared that the sensei brought about this quote from the Tanisho, and through that she was so intrigued that she wanted to learn more about Shinran Shonin. She didn't change her own faith, but little by little she wanted to learn more and more about Jodo Shinshu Buddhism and the teachings of Shinran Shonin, to the point where she asked her in-laws could you look after my children? I need to go to these places. And they said, oh, don't worry about the children. Go wherever you need to go. We'll take care of the children. And so they lived like this for many, many years. And so this was the main point of the last talk. And then after that, the kids had grown up. And so now the older son, was graduating from college, and he was so excited that he was sitting with mom and talking about all the things that happened in his life to come to this point that he's ready to step into the real world as a man. And so he talked about all the things, the hardship that, taking the test in high school to get into the right college, and while they're in college, the most difficult exams and what he called the test from hell that he had to encounter and endure, and all these things, and so many friends and teachers, dear teachers and people, whole support system that enable him to come to this point in his life. And so she's listening to him, and they're going back and forth and remembering different people. And so he was coming to the part where he wanted to thank the most important, most influential person in his life. And she was kind of thinking that he's going to come to a point to thank mom for being who she was and being so supportive. And so she's kind of smiling inside, but not trying to hide her smile, looking forward to this recognition that she would receive from him, wondering how he would say the words to thank his mother in such a way. And so finally he got to that point, and he wanted to thank. He says, I owe it all of it, I owe it all to Grandma. And so she was surprised that he would say to Grandma, and so a little bit hurt, a little bit surprised. So she kind of bit her tongue, and in hiding, the disappointment that she felt. She thought for sure he's going to point to her and thank her for all the things that she had done. So she was a little bit hurt, and they finished listening to his story. And then after that was done, I think the next day she was talking to the second son, and he was always a very sensitive type, and they could talk easily and comfortably on any kind of things. And so she was telling him what his brother had mentioned the night before, and going through all these things and coming to this point in his life. And he said that he owes it all to Grandma. And so she was wondering how the second son would respond, and he says, yeah, I feel exactly the same way. So again, she was a little bit disappointed and shocked that even the second son would say Grandma was the most influential person in his life too. And so as she's writing the story in the booklet, she said, not only was Grandma not college educated, she thought she didn't have common sense that much either. And she's pointing out these couple examples of, she took Grandma to go and see this movie that had come out about Shinran Shonin. This very well-known handsome actor was playing the part of Shinran Shonin. And so there was one scene where Shinran was doing these very austere practices when he was younger, when he was on Mount Hiei. And so at that time, it was pouring rain, and so his practice of meditation looked even more austere, severe, and they're showing in the movie this time of practice, and it's pouring rain over Shinran Shonin. And so Grandma leaned over and said, I didn't realize it's going to rain today. I forgot to bring my umbrella. And so she's pointing out that part, and then later on when they got home, they're talking about the movie, and Grandma was so happy. She didn't realize how Shinran was such a handsome man, and so respected him so long for so many years, but to even see that he was such a handsome man makes it even more better for her. And so Toshiko was pointing out that it was just a movie, but when it's raining in the movie, Grandma thought it's actually raining, not just in the movie, but outside. We're going to have to walk through the rain. And Shinran Shonin, this actor, is playing Shinran Shonin, but she thought it was actually Shinran. And so these kind of things where she thought, gee, not even common sense that she has, But a woman such as this is someone that both her sons say they owe it all to Grandma. And so, the points that Grandma had was that she was always so supportive and even keeled and always encouraging and never a negative thought or word about anyone, and always living graciously with gratitude about everything that she had received and being so appreciative of life. And this is what she had shown to them. So as I was reading this little booklet, I thought, gee, that's, not to look down upon Toshiko, who's writing these things, but that's exactly how I act. That's exactly how we act. So even though we come to recognize the life of gratitude, that how they describe the Jodo Shinchu teachings, to live a life of gratitude, but even coming to appreciate such a deep teaching, she still had her own bonno, greed, anger, and ignorance, calculating mind. She wanted the recognition from her two boys. She wanted to look better to them than Grandma did to them. And so her appreciation, maybe it should be a little bit more clearer to her, but she still has her own blind passions emerging, greed, anger, and ignorance, hoping to get credit. Maybe we do this too when we donate to the temple. Maybe Snowbear and Tsuki, when they put in $1, they hope to get something, a good fortune that they donated to the temple. And we go through these things. We make an effort for our families or for our friends, and we say, oh, no, don't worry about it. But at the same time, we want some kind of recognition. Oh, thanks, really appreciate it. Oh, it's nothing. But we want to hear that thank you, right? And so we have this same kind of attitude, and that we think we have it, complete gratitude, but we really don't. And when she writes about it in her story, how disappointed she was to hear her sons talk to her in this manner, her own lack of complete understanding is revealed. And so this is our struggle, just like it is her struggle, to come to appreciate the Nembutsu teachings and how we fall short. And it's because we fall short, the portion at Alameda is giving to us, accepting of us, that we receive everything, and we don't really earn it or deserve it. It's not through how much better we became as people that we receive. And so that relationship between us and our shortcomings and the infinite wisdom and compassion of Alameda, then it's not just me standing here. It's me in connection to everything else. And this is what comes out in this story. And we all have to wrestle with this as we encounter and learn about the Nembutsu teachings. So with that, I would like to conclude with Nembutsu. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Thank you for being here for this service. Please come up and oshoko here and at your homes. Okay. Thank you very much for being here.